Sometime within the next minute or so, somewhere on the planet, another big idea is being born. It might be a new song, a new product, who knows? And who knows how to make this idea grow and introduce it to the world? Let's find out. Welcome to The Next Big Idea with your host, Peter Gantner. The program is sponsored by Kula Brands, dedicated to help with branding, funding, and marketing the next big idea. And if that idea is yours, you want to pay particular attention to the particulars. Peter and his co-hosts and guests will explain just how it's done. If you happen to be an investor or just an interested party, you could benefit from the efforts of Kula Brands. You could become a part of their community of folks who want to help others and make money in the process. If that sparks your curiosity or wets your whistle, sit up and take notice. Kula Brands presents Peter Gantner and his guests on The Next Big Idea.
Hey guys, this is your host, Peter Gantner, here with The Next Big Idea. Of course, I'm here with my co-host, Deborah Caswell and Corey Moran. Guys, say hello.
Hey, Peter.
Hey there, Peter. How's everybody doing?
Oh, man, I got to tell you, it's a crazy thing out there right now with everything that's going on. Today, we have some fantastic guests with us. We are going to be talking about our cryptocurrency trading bot, digieBot, with Mr. Doug Kyle. Doug, you there, buddy?
I am, buddy.
And, of course, we have Brendan with us as well. Brendan, you there?
I am.
Excellent. Well, guys, I know we just had you guys on last week's show, but I really wanted to dig in here a little bit. You guys did a great job of covering digieBot and some of that type of stuff. Built a unique piece of software here. What I really want to talk about is the future and where cryptocurrency and why the blockchain and how all this ties together. And of course, we've just seen that one pandemic was able to disrupt the global economy, the world economy, and a lot of the existing systems that are in place. And from my perspective, when I look at this, it tells me that blockchain is the future. And of course, along with blockchain comes cryptocurrency. So Doug, very quickly, can you give our listeners a quick overview of what the blockchain is and how that is taking effect? And then we'll talk about really quickly how cryptocurrency relates to the blockchain.
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely. And Brendan, feel free to jump in too also, buddy. The blockchain, guys, is a new way of really recording records, tracking information, and keeping information safe and unchangeable, meaning that once something's recorded, somebody else can't go back in, modify it, change it, delete it, or erase it, or modify it, right? So things like patents and anything that needs to be recorded has the ability to be recorded on the blockchain. So large companies like Boeing are using it to track inventory, to track all kinds of stuff on the blockchain. So it becomes an extremely powerful tool for the way that we look at data and the way that data is stored and kept. So Brendan, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, just to, I guess, add emphasis, right? This is talking about financial transactions, contracts, right? Signatures, medical, and I think more appropriate now, right? Medical records, medical documents, maybe even reporting of who may or may not have the virus in current times, like from a standpoint of figuring out what's really going on, right? So maybe it kind of takes out, it decentralizes where information is stored, and it requires confirmation across multiple nodes, right? And once again, there's different technologies. That's a real simplification, but it really makes it would make it extremely difficult for somebody to mess with those transactions and those records.
So Brendan, I'd like to really get it where our listeners, so I'm an individual. I have my medical records right now. If I go to a doctor, those medical records are stored at that doctor's office. They're the ones protecting and keeping it safe. So if somebody hacks the doctor's office, they can get my documentation. In a blockchain situation, I have a way of controlling my own medical records. They come with me, and of course, because of the algorithms that are in place and everything else, it's harder for someone to hack, or impossible for someone to hack, because of the security features of it. So now I control my medical data instead of the doctor's offices or random people without a system. So if I go to one hospital, they have my records there. If I go to a doctor, they have my records there. Once the blockchain is fully implemented, all of my records will be stored in one place. I have access to it, and I'm able to give other people. And it's the same thing with financial transactions, the same thing with the deed of my house, the same thing with all of my ownership. My whole credit history and credit report eventually will, instead of being stored somewhere else, are stored on very secure places, and I now have more control over my life, right? That's what ultimately the blockchain will do, right? Give us more control.
I mean,
over our life.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's the general idea, and it's portable, but at the same time secure, which is not the case now. Now it's in one place, and it's only as secure as that one place. So
yeah, because you can have one employee that wants to steal information, access the system, steal that information, and now it's out there. Where on the blockchain, it takes a lot more for that type of stuff to happen, because of the technology that's in place. So we're talking about decentralized. We're talking about giving individuals more control, more portability. So now let's talk about how the crypto ties into this. So cryptocurrency is a way of valuing the blockchain, right? So a blockchain application is built. A cryptocurrency is issued on that blockchain technology. And so as that technology becomes more valuable, then that raises the price and the value of cryptocurrencies, correct?
Well, yeah, a couple ways actually there, Peter. So what you're saying is the crypto or the coin or the token that we're talking about really is the underlying asset or value representing that technology. So that's absolutely right. The value of that token that you're talking about, or coin, can be valued because of the contracts that company that owns or started that token, that technology, contracts with or gets. So there's a fundamental value that, as that coin goes up, is based on actually the value that coin proves itself to be in the real world. The second value that actually happens is the social the social value. So there's a certain level of social sentiment where people like the concept of the coin at first, right? So that coin says it's going to do X, it's going to hold patents on the blockchain. Let's say that's the coin. And everybody goes, wow, that's a great idea. I really like that idea. So now it has a social value, and that also drives up the value of that coin or that company. So there's two things that establishes that value. One, it's proof in the market as it grows and secures contracts. And two, the social value that people believe it has because of the concept itself.
So buddy, this is very much like a share of stock in a company, except it's easier to use. I can't take a share in, let's say, Apple and go buy a car with it, but I could cash it in and then use the money to buy the car. But if I own a cryptocurrency in an underlying technology, I could then, if that car company accepted it, utilize that directly with the car company and exchange that for the car or for a service or for a business. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'll let Brendan maybe talk about this, because you're really talking about the liquidity of the coin versus liquidity of the stock.
Right.
So which one is quicker to get your hands on, and how can you use it? So Brendan may want to talk about that a little bit, because he has a lot of background.
I think that's what makes the crypto market unique, right? Is that the actual coin or token, right, has an exchange value and can be used for, like you said, for goods and services in a much more liquid way. And it's also tradable on the exchanges, right? And you can actually move it from one exchange to another. You could move it from one wallet to another. So it's much more, going back to what we said about the information, it's much more portable, and we own it, right? We can take it with us. We can keep it secure in our wallet. We can put it on an exchange to leverage it by trading it, or we can buy goods and services with some of the coins that are more popular and have more volume to them.
Yeah.
Well, and I got to tell you right now where the marketplace is, guys, there's a lot of unknown out there, right? So it's just like when the automobile was first, came up with, or ATMs. I remember having a conversation with my mother-in-law about never using a ATM machine, right? She hated it. She felt more comfortable going into the bank. Now, eventually, everybody's using the ATM. As a matter of fact, if you go to the lobby right now, the bank is actually closed. They won't even open the door for you. So using the ATM has become a huge part of this. And I think that's where we're at right now with blockchain and cryptocurrency. We're at a point where it's like, bringing a microwave in your house is going to kill you. All of a sudden now microwaves are in every single house. We're coming up on the end of this segment, guys. We got 3 more segments to go. We are going to dig into this entire thing. We're going to talk about digieBot. We're going to talk about how you can very easily get involved in the crypto market, begin to build in these early days when it is. So, when they talk about putting yourself in the right place at the right time and allowing yourself to catch a wave, this is putting your surfboard out right before the wave starts, guys. We are going to be back with Doug and Brendan, and we're going to be talking more about the crypto market. We'll be back after the break.
You're tuned in to Better Living Radio, streaming worldwide across the internet, and you're listening to entrepreneur and thought processor Peter Gantner on the next big idea. Stay tuned. Peter will be right back. You hear Jackie Simmons daily here on Better Living Radio. As the founder of the Teen Suicide Prevention Society, she's presenting a course to help you become a Make It a Great Day advocate. It's a series of weekly classes, and by the end of the course, you'll be able to listen. Just listen, without trying to fix or strategize or help. It's one of the most critical skills in the world today. Jackie explains the 7 key techniques to create conversations that break the cycle of hopelessness, proven techniques to help others break the silence and save lives. You'll learn to open the door by setting the right tone right from the start. Stop wasting time wondering if there's a need to speak up. There is. After registering, simply pay what you wish. There's a suggested donation on the website, along with a long list of bonus items to come when you register and attend. You can become an advocate. Just click on makeitagreatdayadvocates.com. Better Living Radio is on the air, and yes, it's everywhere around the world. Are you wondering, hey, what's the big idea? Oh, funny you should ask. Our show is called The Next Big Idea with Peter Gantner. In fact, we're back with more on Better Living Radio.
Well, guys, we are back. This is Peter Gantner, your host, and I have with me Mr. Doug Kyle, and I have Brendan with us. We are talking about cryptocurrency, blockchain. We are talking about a product which we have built, which is called digieBot. And it is a auto crypto trading bot. There's a manual system to it as well. And we are talking about the mystery of this thing called cryptocurrency. And of course, why will it at some point in time value? How is it going to change our lives? When I first started looking at this, guys, people started to talk about this is the Web 3.0, right? It's the next big thing. And in the very earlier time here, they were talking about, if you think the internet was this big change, that the blockchain and cryptocurrency, of course, because that is the representation of the value of the blockchain, right? So, and that's probably a pretty good way to put it. Wouldn't you agree, guys, that cryptocurrency is a representation of the value that the blockchain creates? Is that a good example or a good explanation?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think it is. And there's also, Doug did a good teaching on this yesterday. There's speculative, right? There's speculation around that. But I think this is what I find pretty interesting and exciting is I believe it was the UK finance minister basically they were literally bashing some of the crypto coins. And then in the same article, I read how they're talking about coming out with their own. So it's just so interesting, right? That countries now are talking about coming out with their own cryptocurrency, and at the
But
same
when
time,
you guys
maybe
talk about
bashing the market.
speculation, isn't there speculation in everything? Gold has speculation in it, right?
Yeah.
Stocks have. I mean, if you're going to do any type of investing, any type of that, all of it, even real estate has some form of speculation in it, right? I'm going to buy a home. I'm expecting it to go up, so I'm going to pay top dollar for my home, right? That the house is valued, let's say, at $835,000. I'm going to get in a little bidding war. I pay $840. Why? Because I believe, I'm speculating that in a year my house is going to go up another 3%. It's going to be worth $875. So I'm not overpaying for the house, even though I'm paying a little bit more than maybe the asking price or the comps in the area. So all investing has speculation in it. But again, and especially now, we know that there's a lot of people in the market, supply and demand. But ultimately, what we need to look at to make a smart decision is the underlying technology solid, and is it something that's not being widely used now, but in some point in the future has the possibility to be widely used? I'll use it as let's use the whole Jobs Act and investing in a company. If I'm purchasing stock and using equity-based crowdfunding in a company, and they say, hey, we're worth 20 million, I look at the sheet and they're doing $1 million in sales, I'm kind of speculating that at some point this company is going to be doing 20 million or 50 million or 100 million in sales. I'm trying to get in early enough to make that happen. Is that a fair assumption there, guys?
Yeah, I think you're right on there, because we think, early adopters is really what you're talking about, Peter. And, whether you're talking about what we're talking about today, which is the blockchain and Bitcoin and all the altcoins, or you're talking about all of the stories you've ever heard. Man, I wish I could have bought IBM back then, or I wish I could have gotten Apple stock when it first came out, or I wish I could have done this, or I wish I could have done that. 10 years from now, there'll be people saying the exact same thing about what we're talking about today, right? So the early adopters in anything are the ones that see the vision and get involved or take advantage of that early move. And those are the guys that make the serious money, right? The guys that own 3M stock when it first came out, that made fortunes with just owning a few stock, right? So these are the guys that will change their families' lives. They'll change all kinds of things for their family because they're early adopters in this technology, which is the blockchain. And there'll be people, like I said, that will stand on the sideline, talk about it, and not take action. And then 10 years from now go, only if I had, and we've all said that about something. Question is are they going to say it about this, Peter?
Yeah, and I believe they are looking at it. I mean, if you looked at this a few years ago, it was very slow. dApps didn't exist, and some of you people are going, what the heck is a dApp? dApp is a decentralized app, right? So they've given it a name that if these dApps, these applications run in the blockchain, then they're called dApps, right? So that's a whole new term. I know a lot of people haven't heard it, but you will start to hear about it and get involved with it. So, guys, the reason why we're talking about this right now on the show is I believe that it makes sense. And again, everyone needs to do what they feel they need to do. But I actually believe that the best thing for someone to do is position themselves at least somewhat into this crypto space. So in 3 years, you're not sitting there talking. What Doug was saying is, I missed it. I completely missed out. So I'm not talking about, taking every penny that somebody has, and I haven't taken every penny I have and dump it into this blockchain cryptocurrency, but positioning yourself well here, whether it's through using digieBot, which we're going to talk about, or some other means of acquiring some form of cryptocurrency and then holding on to that. Or better yet, and this is the reason why I'm so excited about Digi, is getting some of it and then allowing to leverage trading without having to go through some humongous education. I was on there day before yesterday, and I found this course, $189 a month. They will teach you how to trade, and then they will have their people trade and then send you those trade signals, and then you have to go in and physically trade those. Now, if everybody's like me, I'm too busy to focus on that stuff. I don't have time for someone to tell me, hey, go do this or buy this. And the other thing I'm worried about is I'm going to miss the trade, right? I was eating lunch, or maybe I was sleeping, or maybe I was doing what I do for a living. So that's what I love so much. So let's transfer into talking about digieBot, guys, and how that is, because I know there's a manual and then there's an auto phase to this. And this is really Brennan and Doug's side of this thing, and they understand it inside and out. They've built this thing from scratch. There are some very unique things. So if you're out there and you said, well, I already heard of a crypto bot, or maybe I'm already using one. We have unique features of digieBot that you have not seen before. And I'm going to have Doug, very, very important, guys, when you start talking about money management and how that affects the long term of the possibilities that are involved here. Now, I do want to say, guys, right here from the past results do not represent. I'll have Doug give you the exact statement here really quickly, because he's got it down pat. But I'm telling you, there are unique features. So, Doug, why don't you, we got about 3 minutes left in this segment,
Sure.
Go through and start to explain Digi, and we're going to really get into details in the next segment of it.
Perfect. So the statement is, guys, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. And so anything we talk about from this point forward will really be in that light, because Digi has done so extremely well. We can't guarantee anything in the future, but we can guarantee, what we do in terms of the way that we work on Digi. So let's talk about Digi real quick. And let's talk Peter, I'm just going to address what makes Digi different than other things that they've seen. And every time you hear one of these spills or get on one of these calls or read one of these ads, everybody says they're different, okay? But why are we different? Well, one, Brendan and I have been trading roughly 20 years each. We had tremendous trading in Forex and futures, and everybody says that too. So, okay, what makes us different, right? Everything that Digi does, and this is what makes digieBot different, is based on volume. None of it is based on indicators. If you're a trader, you'll understand this. And if you're not a trader, I'll explain it to you very basically so that it makes a lot of sense to you. But if you're a trader, you understand we don't use lagging indicators. We don't use all of the stuff that are on MetaTrader or any of the charts. Everything we've done is volume-based, right? So why is volume-based important? And very simply, Peter, volume-based is important because if I'm willing to take the wallet out of my pocket and put money on the table, meaning that I'm willing to buy something, and in this case, I'm willing to buy the Bitcoin or the Tron or the NEO, one of the coins. I'm willing to put my money in the market to buy it. That shows intent. So what we've done with digieBot is we've been able to go in and leverage that intent, the intent of the individual, the small trader, which would be the guy that's putting a few bucks into the market. And we've been able to analyze and understand the intent of the guys that may be putting $1 million into the market. And all of those things are extremely important when they're putting money in and taking money out. And when they have money actually committed to doing that, we're able to see.
Man, I got to tell you what, guys, you want to hang in here till after the break because you want to hear this. We're also going to cover LTH, another unique feature of digieBot. Guys, we have put together and built a system that is different because it comes from the perspective of long term with this model. We'll be back after the break.
So are you wondering where the next big idea will come from? Well, you'll hear about it first here at Better Living Radio. See, this is the show called The Next Big Idea. Maybe you got the next big idea, or maybe you just like to make some money from it. Peter Gantner will explain when we come back on Better Living Radio.
A health threat anywhere is a health threat everywhere. I'm Dr. Phil. A new coronavirus outbreak called COVID-19 started in China and is spreading to many countries, including the U.S. It's critical to get the facts about how to protect our friends and loved ones. While CDC is working with states and communities to stop the spread of the virus, health workers and emergency response efforts need our support. The CDC Foundation, a nonprofit organization, is focusing on immediate and critical needs that help protect our communities here at home and those around the world. We can all play a role in stopping this deadly virus. Get updates, learn how to protect your friends and family, and find out how to help. Go to cdcfoundation.org. That's cdcfoundation.org. Together, our impact is greater.
This has been a public service announcement brought to you by the CDC Foundation.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you can donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-639-8620. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It'll be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car. And as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now. Call 1-800-639-8620. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-639-8620. That's 1-800-639-8620.
Welcome back to Better Living Radio and this amazing idea for a radio show. It's called The Next Big Idea. Rather ironic, wouldn't you say? Hey, if you've got an idea, you might want to talk with host Peter Gantner or one of his guests here at Better Living Radio. Oh, look, here they come now.
Guys, we are back after that break with Doug, Kyle, and Brendan Duff. We are talking about digieBot, cryptocurrency, the blockchain. Doug, can you pick up where you left off, buddy, because it was very important. We were talking about the differences and why digieBot right now is performing so well and why it is, if you are somebody who's looking at building long-term wealth, long-term, you're not want to get in and out, but just continue to build in this blockchain. You're looking at it and saying, this is Internet 3.0, ready to just absolutely dominate over the next few years. I want to position myself well to build wealth off of this digital era. Can you get more and continue on with digieBot and the differences?
Sure, absolutely. So we were talking about volume, Peter, and when we think of volume, we think of people that are actually putting money into the market, but there's the other side of volume is people taking money out of the market. You need to understand both of those things in real time and how it's affecting the market. So one of the terms that you'll often hear in trading or just about any kind of investment is accumulation and distribution. So one of the things that makes Digi very unique is we accumulate the asset, meaning that we buy the asset at as close or very similar places as the big traders, money movers, or a large group of traders are performing that same action. So we go through accumulation where we accumulate a number of coins, and that accumulation then allows us to set up Digi for what we call the distribution phase or the selling phase of that coin. And so the more that we can accumulate at the right places or at the right levels, Peter, the better we make profit in that distribution phase where we're actually selling those coins back into the market. So, and Digi just doesn't randomly pick those accumulations and distribution points. It picks it really based upon following the volume of the market. So when the volume is coming in and buying, so is Digi. When the market is going out and selling, so is Digi. So we ride that kind of trading wave, as you said earlier, Peter. We ride that very, very well, following that volume. And again, we don't do anything that is lagging, meaning that it's following the market in way behind. We're current with that market in that time and moment of that volume that's happening. So that's one thing that makes Digi very, very unique. The other thing that you talked about, Peter, was LTH, which we call as long-term hold. And if you are an investor in stocks or futures or other things, and I'll bring Brendan on here in a minute and let him talk about this a little bit too, because he has a lot of background in those markets. But if you're in those other markets, most of those markets are trading leveraged. And what does that mean to a non-trader? Leverage means if I have $100.
Buddy, I don't want to interrupt you here, but that means that the other day when everything dropped, you were screwed. That's really what that means, right?
That is exactly what it means.
It's great when the market's going up, but when the market goes in the other direction, which none of us can really predict in any way, it means you are absolutely screwed. And you know, the thing is that I love about your approach to this, buddy, is you're saying, let's make money, but let's not risk the house, the farm, and that's what leverage does, right? Leverage is saying, I'm willing to take a huge amount of risk to get a huge amount of return, but most people cannot afford to do that, right? The wealthy people can afford to take huge risks, but me, every day-to-day people, we cannot afford to take that risk. We're talking about our, money that we need to live on and stuff like that. So if we go backwards beyond what we've got to invest, we literally can end up having to go into our banking account to cover those losses and take our rent, our mortgage payment, our car payments. So it's very, very important here. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but it just hits me when people start talking about, I'm able to leverage and I'm going to make these huge returns. They don't look at that loss side of things.
Well, yeah, and we'll talk about the market freezing the other day, Peter, that with people that were leveraged that couldn't get out of the trade. We'll catch that in just a second. But, on this point, let's understand what we're talking about. Most of the people that are listening to this may have been to Vegas or Atlantic City or whatever. Lots of times when you check into your hotel, they give you this little booklet, Peter, and that little booklet has $100 to play the blackjack table or this or that. Do you think they're giving you that money because they don't think they're going to get it back? No, they know they're going to get it back.
Yeah, they know they're going to get it back and more. All right.
That's right. So leverage to me is really like the exchanges giving you something that they know is going to hurt you. For the most part, people lose trading. Now, the difference between crypto and all the other markets is crypto is like your house. You own the asset. It's a one-to-one leverage. And now there are exchanges beginning to add leverage. That is the trap, okay? But when it's one-to-one, I own the Bitcoin. If it goes down a little bit, I still own the Bitcoin. I don't get what's called margined out. So now let's talk about the markets the other day that shut down, Peter. When they froze those markets and people were leveraged, they couldn't get out of those trades. And when they turned the market back on, that whatever that market was at, if those people were upside down hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I can guarantee you there was a lot that were, if they didn't have the money to cover that, they were selling their homes. I mean, it's serious stuff, right? It's no joke when you get into a leveraged market. But in the crypto market,
well, buddy, you know this from you 20 years of trading. You've seen this actually happen to people, right? Where they got involved, they were using leverage in Forex or into some of these other things. And Brendan, you've probably seen it as well too, where they got themselves over leveraged and it completely destroyed their lives, right? Because of the fact that I believe you had told me a story one time, Doug, of somebody who was in the hospital, right? So they couldn't get to their system, caused all kinds of havoc. And of course, that did not go very well for them.
Oh, it was horrible. They went in for actually a heart operation, and this guy is a very good friend, right? And he didn't have any stops, and he was leveraged. And when he got done with his heart operation and got home, he was down $300,000 in his account.
Wow. Now, buddy, let that sink in with our audience that's listening to this. Guys, imagine where you're at right now. You get involved in something to take you in the right direction financially, and wake up one day and you're $300,000 in the hole. Now, guys, digieBot does not, this is not going to happen with digieBot, right? Because we're not using leveraged in that way. As Doug said, you get the asset, you own the asset, so it may go down a little bit, or even the other day, maybe down by 20 or 30% or 40%. However, the asset has come back up now, and you still own that asset. So you may still take some losses, but the losses are not going to be any more than what you have sitting in the account right now. And by the way, you should never utilize money that you need today in any type of investment. I don't care what it is. You want to only use money that you're saying, okay, I don't need this money for a year or two, so I'm going to put it into an asset and move that forward. We want people to be responsible when they are investing, because if you are, then of course that harm is not going to come to you, as in if you are using money that you need right away.
So yeah, and I'll let Brendan jump in here too. I want to.
Yeah, I'll give everybody a good example here, and I think a lot of people have heard of the S&P 500. A lot of people trade futures contracts on that, and the barrier to entry in that's relatively inexpensive because they let you use margin, right? Leverage. So, for instance, you might be able to control one contract if you had $500 in your account. So just today, I'm looking at it. Right there is a 5-minute movement in that market. That one contract that you could buy for $500 could have gone against you in 5 minutes, 40 points in the S&P, and the equivalent of that's basically 40 times 4 increments. That's 16 times that. So you're going to lose close to $8,000. So if you weren't able to respond and you didn't know what you're doing, you literally can go upside down. Now the reverse of that, and which is really where, what we like about crypto does what Forex wanted to and never could. It's a 24-hour market, which is a double-edged sword, and we can talk about that more later, but there's a low barrier to entry. You can make very small trades. And like Doug said, the most important thing is you own the value, or you're the fraction of the coin or a whole coin, and you can take that with you. So the risk comparatively to the other markets, it's much, much lower as long as you don't use leverage.
Well, and also opportunity, right? We're in the early stages of this, so the chances of things advancing and going up are much greater. It's just like if you buy Apple today versus if you bought Apple in the past, except this is an entire marketplace that's in its early stages of growth and moving forward. We're coming up on the end of this segment, guys. I cannot wait till after the break to get more into this. I really want to get into some details on digieBot, how people can purchase it, how it works for them, and how it can help them get themselves positioned into this space as an early adopter versus later on in this process. We'll be back after the break.
You're tuned in to Better Living Radio, streaming worldwide across the internet, and you're listening to entrepreneur and thought processor Peter Gantner on the next big idea. Stay tuned. Peter will be right back.
I was 35 when my life and addiction started to spiral out of control. My ex-husband threatened to take our children away from me. I felt hopeless. He called Elite Rehab Placement because I couldn't make the call. I was ashamed. I was given skills to manage my sadness and my anger, and more importantly, I'm 3.5 years sober. I'm so grateful for all their help, and all it took was making one phone call.
Elite Rehab can help you start to break your addiction problem and get sober in as little as 7 days. And we'll work with your insurance provider to help cover the costs. Plus, we have travel assistance programs to get you here by plane or train. Make this free call right now to learn more. 800-918-1376. 800-918-1376. 800-918-1376. That's 800-918-1376.
You're tuned to the latest concept on radio and on the internet. A gathering of people who use their brains to get a better deal. The day kicks off with none other than the money man, Dan Frischberg. There's The World According to Jackie Simmons, educator and mentor to anyone looking to build or rebuild their business. For the first-time home buyers and for real estate investors, David McLaughlin is more than an exceptional mortgage broker. He's the host of his own show right here called Where to Get the Money. Let's not forget the weekly Dent Market Digest with Harry Dent and his co-host Rodney Johnson, offering a free daily newsletter called Economy and Markets. It's the talk and info you need to live a better life. Hence the name Better Living Radio, anchored in Bradenton, Florida at WWPR and broadcasting 24/7 worldwide. Tell your friends about Better Living Radio. Better Living Radio is on the air, and yes, it's everywhere around the world. Are you wondering, hey, what's the big idea? Oh, funny you should ask. Our show is called The Next Big Idea with Peter Gantner. In fact, we're back with more on Better Living Radio.
Guys, I am back with my guests, Doug, Kyle, and Brendan Duff. Guys, I am enjoying this so much and getting so much information. So, Doug, let's jump in and talk about LTH. And then also, guys, if you two can get into the details of digieBot. This is our final segment. So let people know, where do they go? How do they get it? And of course, why would they want to purchase digieBot over anything else? I'm going to turn it over to you, Doug, and let you go ahead, and you and Brendan go back and forth and get these details to our listeners.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to cover LTH, and I got to say, again, past performance is no guarantee of future results. But Peter, you made a comment last segment about taking losses. In Digi, we absolutely do not believe in taking a loss. Okay, it's not that a loss can't happen, but with LTH, with our money management, and because we're not leveraged, we don't see any reason to not be able to take a coin or a loss and take that if a loss does happen for whatever reason and trade that back to positive. So what does this mean? It means that I own the asset. They can't margin me out. They can't come and say, hey, you owe us money. I own that, right? So if it goes down, like you said, Peter, 30, 40, 50%, I don't care how far it goes down. If I can trade that trade back to positive by adding other trades to it, or just letting that trade itself back to positive while I do short-term trades. So we look at Digi in terms of long-term, middle-term, and short-term trades. I want my money in the market in all three of those positions working for me all the time. So a short-term trade may last a minute to a few hours and maybe a day or so. A middle-term trade may last a few days or a week or so. A long-term trade may last a couple of weeks or even a month or two. Doesn't matter. I own that coin and I have my money working for me all the time. And so in the short term, we're pulling money out of the market. That's the key. In the middle term, when the market comes, if I took a trade and it went down, let's say 15% or something, and comes back up, now my middle term money's pulling money out of the market. My long term may have gone deeper than I wanted, but when it comes back up and it becomes positive, I'm pulling money out of the market. The key word there is I'm constantly pulling money out of the market and letting my money work for me. You cannot do that in any other market that I know of because of the leverage or the margins that you're using in those other accounts. It gets too heavy or too costly for you to do that. So for a first-time investor or a first-time trader, I don't know of another market that's safer than the crypto, simply because of that reason. And we go into the fact that if people go, well, what if the coin goes to zero value? Well, if the coin goes to zero value, I still have the ability in digieBot through LTH, or our money management, to take a good coin. Let's just take a coin, for example, let's take Tron. And it's not that Tron's going to go to zero. I'm not saying that. I want to be really clear. But let's say it did go to zero value. I could close that trade out. Let's say I had $100 on that coin and I was trading $100 of Tron, right? I could take that negative position, attach it to another coin through our money management, and make sure I trade that negative position back to positive. We believe in leaving no trade negative. So we track everything that happens in Digi and we trade it back to positive. That's why we have pages and pages and pages, Peter, of winning trades. So Brendan, I'm going to let you add to that if you want to say anything along those lines, buddy.
Yeah, I think another aspect is right now we're trading somewhere around 15 coins. And one of my thought processes is that we tend to only put coins in digieBot that we actually like, right? We like the coin as far as we hope and believe from our research that it maybe has long-term potential. We might be wrong, but we're not just putting all of our eggs in one basket, right? So any one of the coins that we have in here, I'm willing to trade and I'm willing to hold. And I like this, like you said, the short term. When we get the short term wins, that's great, right? We get in and get out, grab, percent or 2% or sometimes more from the market. And other times we will ride the wave, right? We'll ride the wave and position it. And while we're doing that, we're trading the other coins that are giving us opportunities. So I think that's one of the.
I'm sitting here listening to this. Sorry, Brendan. I'm sitting here listening to this going, man, this sounds fantastic. Okay. If I decided to purchase digieBot right now, I said, man, this is great. I want to purchase it. What does it take me to get my account set up and start trading? Is this 2 hours of learning, 5 hours? Is it 5 days to set up? Or how simplistic is this model to get myself up and running? I want to position myself. I want to catch the wave. Can you guys real quickly cover, because we're running out of time, we're down to under 5 minutes. Can you cover how easy and simple it is? And so this is an auto trading bot. What does that mean? And what is the simplicity to get me involved and get me started in this?
Okay, well, let's approach it from a novice, because if you're not a novice, you'll know all these things, right? You go to digiebot.com, Peter, and you would purchase one of the auto trading licenses. We have 2 licenses there. They're pretty self-explanatory. One's $875, allows you to trade up to $2,500 in the market at all times. The other one's $1,295, and it allows you to trade $5,000 in the market at all times. Those are the only 2 differences between the license. The next step that you would need to do, you would need to buy some Bitcoin. There's a number of places that you do that, or you contact our support, and our support team is head up by a gentleman named Jan, and he will walk you through on how to buy Bitcoin if you've never done that, so that you can get Bitcoins. Not a hard process. A little scary if you don't know what you're doing, but it's not hard. The next thing is you would set up your trading account at one of the trading exchanges that we trade with, and that is very easy to do. Jan would walk you through that. You put your Bitcoin in that account, and you hook that account to Digi. Now, this is an important distinction. Digi never takes your money. Peter, we never hold your money. We never take possession of your money.
So I always have control of my own funds when I'm dealing with digieBot. digieBot 100%. Is simply a piece of software that's going to say buy, trade, and it actually does that with the exchange. So I don't have to be sitting there telling me to buy and sell. Digi is actually doing that through an API with the exchanges. Is that correct?
100%, 24/7, right? And that's
so. Doug, how long does it? Once I get it, so I've got my Bitcoin in there, I'm ready to go. How long does it take for me to set up a trade? And of course, is there somebody to help me, or videos or training? How long does it take for me to set up a trade? Do I need to learn about the markets? Do I need to learn a lot of stuff? And I know that training is available, but do I need to So I've got my money now in an exchange. I'm ready to go. How long is it going to take me to set up Digi and get it trading for me?
You can absolutely know nothing. Watch the video, and it's about 30 seconds to set up a trade. I can set up a trade in about 30 seconds. You not knowing anything might take you a minute, Peter. So we set up what are called parent trades. Once that parent trade is set up, it trades the market 24/7 for you, and you are completely hands-off if that's what you want to be.
And you guys have a whole community, right? Sorry to interrupt you again, buddy. You have a whole community of people through Skype that can also walk you through this 24/7. There's people in there that will help if you get stuck, not only just yawn in that whole system, but there's a whole community of people that will say, hey, do this or do that, right? This is awesome, right?
Oh yeah, we have hundreds of people in the Skype, and they absolutely breathe and love Digi, right? So they're there and they love chatting with each other and they love helping each other. Okay, nice
one more aspect, buddy. We only have a minute and 20-something seconds. We needed a double show here. Real quick, I buy a license. I like this. I want to tell 10 of my friends about it. Is there a way for me to leverage that and make some money by a referral program to where I can actually get other people involved in this, have them make some money, as well as me making some additional money through that process?
Absolutely. So we believe in paying people for that, because either I'm going to have to hire a marketing company, Peter, or I can pay my members, the people in Digi, for doing that. And the nice thing about the affiliate commission that you're talking about is they get it this year, and if they renew, they get it next year and the next year. It's not a one and done. We believe in rewarding people for how they help Digi grow, buddy. That's
unbelievable. Guys, listen, we're coming up on the end of this show. If you've been thinking about getting involved in the crypto market, if you want to learn more about the blockchain, with the license comes all kinds of education, all kinds of stuff. We've got a whole community behind it. Guys, this is your opportunity. Check out digiebot.com. It's unbelievable. I wish we had another hour to go here, guys. We're going to get Doug and Brendan to come back and talk more about this. Thank you for joining us today. This is the next big idea.
Did you ever imagine that these little inventions like radio and the internet, that there was a time when they were considered the next big idea? And yet, here you are today, having just heard a program called The Next Big Idea. Peter Gantner is your host. He's one of the founders of Cooler Brands, and they can help you whether you've got an idea of your own or you just want to get in on the ground floor of the next big thing. Peter and his co-hosts and guests are here weekdays on Better Living Radio to discuss the ins and outs of creating, manufacturing, branding, and marketing the best of the big ideas. Maybe you've got one, or maybe you want to be involved in one. You're definitely tuned into the right spot. So hear this. You can hear this program weekdays at the same time on Better Living Radio as Cooler Brands presents Peter Gantner and the Next Big Idea. You may know David McLaughlin from his program here at Better Living Radio. A lot of people know him because he's helped them to get the money for residential and commercial properties when they'd just about given up. Diamond Dave McLaughlin is a pro with a wealth of knowledge and a responsive attitude. Yeah, he's one of those guys who actually calls you back. In fact, the cornerstone of his business is built on great communication. David specializes in helping people with one of their most important dreams, financing a home, and enhancing the economic well-being of his customers one loan at a time. It doesn't have to be complicated. If you're looking for a pro to guide you through any kind of stress-free financing process, catch Dave's show. It's called Where to Get the Money. You can get all of Dave's contact info. In fact, the best place to find David McLaughlin is right there on the homepage at betterlivingradio.com. The next $1 million idea is being formed each and every day. How many of those ideas, brands, companies, or musicians will break into the market, let alone make it to the top? At Kula Brands, we work hand in hand with inventors and creative folks to boost their brands. From concept to products ready to take the world stage, Kula Brands provides entrepreneurs with funding, brand creation, gap sales, marketing, and more. Using a rewards-based royalty system, both Kula Brands and your company succeed. Where will I get the money? How do I reach a global customer base? How or where do I get my products manufactured? Kula Brands helps solve these challenges and helps your business on a path to success. Kula Brands, changing the way new ideas get to market, and yours could be next. Reach out to Kula Brands at KulaBrands.com. That's K-U-L-A, KulaBrands.com, or see the contact info on the homepage at BetterLivingRadio.com.